Well, hello there. We're going to do things a little differently today. Uh, we've been covered chapter 1, episode 1, 2, and 3. Today we're going to do episode 4. And this episode is when I came out to Colorado, finished high school in Colorado, and then went into the Marine Corps. And I'm going to cover some stuff that happened during that period that really caused me to be stalled out later. But let's get into it. This is Dan's my camper in Wyoming, and I thought I'd film it. There's a lot of wind outside today, and it's really hot, and I thought I would film it inside today. I don't have to fight the wind and the sound. A little bit more controlled environment. Ironically, that's what we're going to be talking about. So, went through high school in Niwot, Colorado. Pretty uneventful. I did kind of change my behaviors. Met a guy that taught me how to trap. So I fished and trapped. I continued with that. Trapped in the winter, muskrat stuff. Wouldn't play football anymore. But I was really loving my home life because my dad was finishing his career in Puerto Rico, and it was Mom and I alone in our house, which was quite wonderful, I have to tell you. She and I did a lot of stuff together. She even got a paper route, and I helped her with that on the weekends, and she let me take the car to go on dates and stuff. Never told Dad any of that. He'd just say no anyway. But Mom was real good to me to a point of almost, almost to the point of fault, if you know what I mean. But I got word that Dad was going to retire my junior year, my summer of my junior year. And I went into panic mode. Everything had been going great. I hadn't kept up my bad behaviors. I had actually been doing pretty good. And I was really happy about that. Mom didn't know a thing about any of that stuff, about any of my bad behaviors, none of that stuff. And I know she knew that I was making way too much money to have a paper route. And I caught her one time. I regress. I caught her one time in the basement in Detroit, pulling out bills out of my pockets and ironing them. Don't you have to pay for your newspapers, honey, with this money? Oh, no, that was terrible. Anyway, so going back to my senior year in high school, my dad comes home. I got to imagine somewhere around August, starting my senior year. And he starts up on some crazy behaviors of an alcoholic, stuff I hadn't seen before. Severe abuse to my mom, heavily drinking. He'd gone from beer to rum while he was in Puerto Rico. And he was real bad. And I kept telling Mom, I got to get out of the house. So what did I do? I did the next best thing. I had nowhere to go. I didn't have a career planned. So I enlisted in the Marine Corps. And they wouldn't take me because I was underage. So I coaxed Mom into signing with me. And she did. Didn't tell Dad. So I was signed up to ship out June 8th, 1978, after graduation. So I had a plan to get out of the house, and I had a plan to get strong on my own. I feel at that time, I feel the Lord tugging on me every now and then, but I keep pushing him away. I don't want anything to do with him. So my dad does some really stupid things, really bad behavior, and it jacks me up. And I couldn't live in that environment. So I started staying at people's houses. I started moving around, anything to stay away from the house until June 8th. Well, I could have graduated in January that year, but I didn't want to because that just meant I had nothing to do. All my friends were in school. So I helped a couple teachers out with extra credit, stuff like that, which one of the teachers ended up indirectly being my boss. That was kind of weird in my career. But so I stay in until I graduate in May, and I go on about a 2-week party, just looking for parties and stuff. No car. Dad wouldn't let me use the car. And so I was just hitchhiking around. Went up, saw my sister a lot up in Cheyenne. I was just burning time, trying to stay out of trouble. And so June 8th came. A couple of my sisters were at my folks' house. They knew that I was shipping out. And I was really nervous because we had just gotten out of Vietnam, and there was talk that we might go back in. And I surely didn't want to do that. But I knew I needed discipline. I needed some control in my life. So it was a good choice for me. Actually, I remember when I signed up, my dad was in the Air Force and was a pilot in the Air Force. He was a high-functioning alcoholic, I'll tell you. And my uncles were in the Navy, brother-in-law Coast Guard, brother-in-law Army, and I'm like, I'm going to the Marine Corps. They're the baddest. And I want to be able to I want to be a Marine because I want the respect. And I want to legally be able to retaliate. I remember feeling that. And June 8th, I ship out. And the first day, I went to San Diego, MCRD there. And the first day of boot camp, they shave your head and all that. We've seen all that stuff. But some of the things they say to you, and the beatings start right away. It was like, what the hell did I do to myself? I felt like I made a big mistake. Well, they won't let you quit. Like they say when you sign up, there's only one way to join and 2 ways to get out. One in a pine box and one graduate. Your choice how you're going to leave here. Boy, they weren't kidding either. So boot camp was beyond out of control. They loved picking on me because I was so big. And it took 3 DIs. The first whooping I got, they take me in the whiskey locker because I was mouthing off or something. And they take me in the whiskey locker. 3 of these guys beating the hell out of me. And I'm just taking it. I'm not even fighting back. And I think they lost interest in it because I wasn't fighting back. And they kind of straightened me up. They picked me up, straightened me up, put me at attention. And they said, how'd you like that, Klein? And I was like, you guys haven't met my dad. It was nothing. What they did to me, it was nothing. So through boot camp, I was overweight for their standards. I went in at 255 as a senior in high school. And when I graduated, I was like 175 in 3 months. But it wasn't without a lot of beatings and things. But they did teach you a lot back then. They taught you hand-to-hand combat, that kind of thing, which I feel today, looking back on it, it was quite dangerous for them to be teaching me these techniques for self-defense, and they're teaching you how to be a POW, so you learn all kinds of crazy things. Like I learned how to kill somebody with a newspaper. Like they wouldn't teach that stuff today. But I needed the discipline. But here's what happened through boot camp. I lost a bunch of weight. I got strong. I got smart. And it made me very dangerous. What it did is it taught me control. The Marine Corps taught you, like when you were a POW, they want you to take a bullet in the back, escaping. Right? They don't want you to sit in a POW camp and rot. They want you to keep trying to escape and get killed doing so. So then they kept throwing things at us like, we're going back into Vietnam. We need to prepare you for that jungle warfare. And they would, like we were up in Pendleton one time, and they would throw us all in an airplane and with all of our gear on. And they'd fly us around about 4 hours. And they'd say, okay, we're going to do a beach landing. We're in Vietnam. And we have put your live ammo in, and we're going to land. And we'd land, and the back of the helicopter would open up, and they'd say, this has been a test. It would scare the crap out of us kids. But anyway, that's how they prepare us. But here's the takeaway. One, yes, I did learn discipline. Two, I became somebody different. I became, instead of, the fight for life or fight or flight thing, as a kid, I was always flighting. I was always trying to get out of trouble. I was always trying to stay away from the house. I was always trying to fly. This taught me how to fight. And so when I graduated, I had a few scores to settle. And people that had picked on me in high school. And I was a pretty dangerous kid. And I remember when I came back home, I was on leave, and I walked upstairs, and my mom and dad were in the kitchen. And I was still standing at like parade rest or attention or something, and they beat that into you. And my dad walked up to me and slugged me as hard as he could in my stomach and said, it didn't even flinch me. As a matter of fact, I think I hurt his hand. And he said, well, you're a man now. And I said, don't ever touch me again. And that was the last time my dad touched me. Like that. Period. He was always good at making you feel real small, But this isn't about daddy issues. What this is about is taking control of my life. And that's what I did. I took the Marine Corps way of doing things, and I started putting round pegs in round holes. Started punching it. Got a job after the Marine Corps. I stayed in reserve, active reserve, for quite some time. But got a job and started doing, and then started doing the right thing. And then I met Dana. And she blew my socks off. This chick, I was out of control. Every time I was around her, I just couldn't believe that a gal like that would like me. And her dad was a Marine as well. And but man, was I Twitter pated. Holy cow. So I met her, and 1 week later, we dated every night. 1 week later, I asked her to marry me, and she said yes. We didn't get married for another year after that. Some family matters kept us from getting married. But we ended up eloping to Las Vegas. And we didn't have any idea the problems that would cause. But we did it. We eloped and got married in Vegas, fell madly in love, and got an apartment when we got back. And I thought I had hit the lottery. And I had dated a lot of girls between leaving for the Marine Corps, coming back. And I had dated, I wasn't that great looking of a guy, but I had dated a lot of, I was looking for a wife. And I wouldn't stay with a girl very long if I saw some flags. But I really wanted a wife. I didn't want to date anymore. Can you imagine knowing that at 20? So when we were in Vegas and got married, I was 21. And Dana was 19. I just turned 20. And so we did the best we could with what we had. I kept the job, always had a job, sometimes 2 and 3 jobs. But we waited to have kids, waited a couple of years. And then we had kids. And some of the things that I stalled out on was, as soon as the kids were born, I kind of flipped. I turned into this tyrant like my dad, I think. I ruled with an iron fist. And that is not the way to be a parent. And it's what I knew, and I just needed some law and order in the house. And gosh, it didn't go well. And I kept going. We kept going. We did the best we could with what we had, both of us did, when the kids were young. And we did all kinds of things. Built dune buggies and went racing in the sand, and I took them fishing as often as I could. My work was demanding. We moved closer to my work. Bought our first house when I was 24. But things weren't right. Things just weren't right. And I can't tell you what went wrong. But I'm telling you, I was stalling out. And I was stalling out fast. I was helping my parents out, doing stuff because they were constantly asking me to do things which I would not do what I'm supposed to do at the house. I had a lot of pulls on me, and I just didn't do things well. But how much time I got? I'm running long. I'm going to leave it here. That's kind of how I learned how to control, how I learned to be hard, I guess is the word, and less emotional, how I learned to be a fighter. And I find out later that that's not the way to go. I caused a lot of problems because of that. I knew the Marine Corps was doing the right thing. They were teaching me how to control situations and this and that. But what I did is I spun it. And I spun it to where I was controlling other people to make me feel good. And that's no good. That's not the way to go. That's very hurtful. And I didn't know that. I didn't know that that's what I was doing until Dana and I started having problems. So the next episode, I'm going to take you, I think it's episode 5. I'm going to take you down the road of my marriage stalling out and stalled out. That's going to be a hard one, and that's coming up next. So stay tuned. Thanks for joining me today on this episode. I hope you've enjoyed these episodes. Kind of difficult, but I think these need to be told. And we're going to go from there. See you later.